Hi, everybody, and I hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday. These are videos I really look forward to. I love talking about history. This is the third autograph that I have added to my historical autograph collection, where I try to buy a cut signature, frame it, put a picture with it, and get to know a little bit more about this person from history that I had no knowledge of beforehand. Mr. Edwin D. Morgan. Mr. Morgan was born in 1811 in Massachusetts, though he would be raised in Hartford, Connecticut. That's also where he would get his training in the business world. He would go on to be a very successful businessman and bond trader, and he would even sit on the city council of Hartford, Connecticut. Now, this would not be his last foray into politics. No, Mr. Morgan would be very influential throughout the East Coast. And again, remember, this is the very early days still of our country. And he was a very well-known man, a very giving man, very friendly, very successful, and he would share that success with others. Now, after sitting on the city council, he would, because of his business, move on to New York. And he would be a member of the New York State Senate, and then would be a representative in the Senate from the state of New York in the United States Senate. He would then go on to become the 21st governor of New York. He was a Whig originally, and he served until 1862 as the governor of New York. During the Civil War period, he was given a detachment of volunteers, and he was actually placed over all of New York as a supporter of the Union. He was a Whig, as I said, but became a Republican, and it's very important that he did become a Republican because he became the very first chairman of the Republican Party. He was the first chairman, and he was also the fifth chairman, and he was the longest tenured chairman of the Republican Party ever. Now, he was still not done. As he got into the latter years of his life, one of the things that had always upset Mr. Morgan, if he had anything to look back on and regret, it was the fact that his 5 children, 4 died very young in life. But the one child that did survive to adulthood, Edward Morgan Jr., went on to become a doctor, was well loved, as was his father. And it was nice that he was able to know that one child did make it to adulthood and went on to become a big success. But that is something that, we don't really experience the same way they did some 200 years ago. Of a lot of times it was a miracle if you had a large family that all your children made it. In fact, most of the time, that was the purpose of the large family, in the hopes that the majority of your children would survive. Now, later in his life, he was a big fan and big supporter of Chester A. Arthur, who, of course, was vice president under James Garfield. And when President Garfield was assassinated, Chester Arthur became president of the United States, the 21st president of the United States, from 1881 to 1885. Now, he was, as I said, a close friend of Mr. Morgan. He wanted Edward to be the Secretary of Treasury. But at this point in his life, even though he was confirmed by the Senate, Mr. Morgan bowed out and said with his failing health, he did not feel from a mental standpoint or a physical standpoint he would be able to serve the country. And in fact, he would die in 1883 and be buried in Connecticut. But what a fantastic life. As I said, he was very much a philanthropist. He gave a great deal of money to the Union Theological Seminary in New York, which still exists to this day. Truly a servant to others throughout his life, represented the country in many forms. Edwin Morgan, governor, senator, general for a brief period during the Civil War, city councilman, friend of presidents, successful businessman, awesome guy. Thanks for watching, everybody.